The Pontiffs Anonymous podcast network is sponsored by McKelvey Insurance Group. If you've ever felt confused or overwhelmed by insurance, McKelvey Insurance Group keeps it simple. They're an independent agency, which means they compare options from multiple providers to find coverage that actually fits you, not just one provider's policy. There's no pressure and no jargon, just honest guidance and real help. Call Evan McKelvey at 618-623-0080 or reach out to us at Pontiffs Anonymous and we'd be happy to connect the dots. They will save you money and they'll save it for you in less than 24 hours. Call Evan. This episode of Needed to Hear That is brought to you by Light Source. What do we need when we're in the dark? Sometimes it's simply just a light source. What's up?
All right.
We're here. We said it at the same time. You survive your bachelor week?
Yeah.
She might take issue to me calling you a bachelor.
Yeah, I'm not. Don't, yeah.
We
Always miss her.
Sure.
We have a routine and, being out of that routine and, yeah, definitely missed her. She was at a great conference in Florida that was mostly like psychopharmaceutical.
Yeah. I'll have to unpack that with her.
She learned a lot. I mean, it's just like the whole time you see like the other side of it of the medication world where it is very creative, right? Like I know that we talk about big pharma and all the problems of big pharma, but then you also talk about like GLP-1s have now had like 150 studies, like a big number of studies rolling in to where that is how people get creative and try to figure different things out and how to work with them and where they could help and not being limited to just like one particular thing.
Haven't been able to eat for 3 days.
Join a study.
Well,
and they'll look at where that's coming from.
God bless that Zepbound, but fuck, I've been sicker to talk for 3 days.
Sure.
I feel like. She I didn't ghost you this weekend. She said I ghosted you. You said you had Haley.
What I love, one of the things I love more than anything about my wife is she is protective.
God damn, she is,
She's
man.
protective and loyal, and so as soon as the conversation of well, did you hear from Panov? No, I mean he's got the Megan Meyer thing and everything. Okay. It's like, all right, it's going to come into the chat. And the nice thing, though, I will say, as a person that talks relationship and safety all the time, there is a really deep sign of good, healthy relationships when the day-to-day can include, like, hey, what's that all about? That
Sure.
It's not every moment is like, okay, well, things have been going on for a couple of weeks. I don't want to say anything. I don't want, right? Like there is I have learned a lot from having a wife who is just way more capable of being direct than I am. And I will never catch up to her.
I've learned a lot from having a sister, aka your wife, who is direct and protective.
Very, very frequently in our close friendships, because Holly is so direct and organizes and takes the lead, and I am more laid back and passive and indirect.
More being an understatement.
Yeah. As a result, the alignment is usually like gender opposite, right? It's usually like she's close with you, she's close with Jessica's husband Bill, right? Like it's like those are where and then I'm always closer to the women in the group, so it's like Ashley and I are preparing, just like taking care of one another in nursing homes at certain points, right? Like where I just align closely in that way. Even at Light Source, that's kind of the joke, is that the most nurturing presence is the only male therapist in the room. Everyone is skillful there, but I am the least direct of in many ways.
I will say that in our group chat, me, Ashley, you, and Hallie,
90% plus of the communication is Holly and I.
Yeah.
Speaking for both of you.
Yes, which is great, which gets a lot done. It's also like there's a couple of times where I miss the boat. The conversation has moved on 3 times since I've had a chance to be like, oh man, I got a zinger for that one, and nope, it would be the 90% of comedy is timing.
Sure.
And so as soon as you guys are on topic 3, I'm like, all right,
we can scatter pretty quickly.
Yeah, that joke's not funny anymore.
Like I think last night that you just finally chimed in. These North America's not producing the same goaltenders they used to.
Yeah, I just saw a window to mention I'm watching these I'm a goalie guy.
Right.
I love the netminders, and my guy Jake Ottinger had an early exit. I love the Otter, and I'm looking and I'm watching these. I'm like, man,
this kid from Montreal went to DeSmet.
Yeah,
lived with Lubos Bartechko.
Yeah,
here in St. Louis.
Yeah. Yeah.
But definitely not North American.
No. Ohio State.
Yeah.
After that,
right.
I think Ohio State.
He tried to Midwest himself, but now is playing in what some could call the hockey capital of the world.
Yeah.
Toronto would have
probably
something to say about that, but
probably some weird similarities between the Midwest and the Eastern Bloc countries.
Sure. Unfortunately, I would say that
maybe some weather maybe similar too.
The Toronto Maple Leafs. Sure missed that Freddie Anderson.
Yeah, a good netminder.
Winning games. So you had a good week, relative without Holly, who she was traveling on business.
Finished some books.
Good.
Yeah, hung out with Haley a little bit.
I feel like you've been loaded for bear today. You got some big time ideas for this podcast, the whole network. With some colleagues you have in the field that will be great guests, and just for people that listen to this show, I'm all for having guests on this show too. PA's really tell me your tragedy. I always say tragedy, trauma, and triumphs, battling addiction, recovery, or some severe mental health stuff, and we can say that here on Need to Hear That, but. The clinical, a lot of your colleagues that you were referencing today also work in the field, of mental health, and which always is adjacent or involved in addiction. So I think it'd be really cool.
Well, a big picture too, and even if anybody that knows me is listening to this, they could get your thinking caps on. Big picture too, it would be
Shout out Bulldog.
Nice to if people have areas of knowledge and interest that they think just like having a casual dialogue about, not like presenting material, but
sure,
if anybody, the thought being if somebody specializes in working with a certain population or works with eating disorders or works with addiction and wants to come in and kind of talk about their approach, then the three of us would just sit here and talk about it,
right?
And that wouldn't.
It's not redundant. I think it's a both and. I think it's fun to have some guests on this show. I will. Speaking of the Saturday night, I had a golf tournament in the morning. Had to stop at that OTB. The only horse I didn't fucking bet on. First female trainer to ever win, which
is great and teaches you not to gamble.
Sure. True. And then I had to
get gamble better. Right.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna go. And then I had to drive out to we talked about this on PFO that we just recorded because we got a little scheduling flip-flop. But I love Tina Meyer, and I love the Megan Meyer Foundation, and I love the work that they do. Where they have the trivia is a hike.
Sure.
It's O'Fallon.
Pack a lunch.
O'Fallon, Missouri. And so going from, Webster to Granite City to golf, to Sojay to the OTB, back to Webster to let the dogs out, say hi to Charlie and Ashley just so I can remember what they look like, and then get back out to O'Fallon after a stop at Ono Pizza for pies. I need an oil change.
Yeah, that is a day.
But one of the highlights of the night was there's a guy named Tony who helps our friend Iggy do. Iggy's got a show on Patreon. that he calls Iggy Uncut, and he sits on his couch. He's now doing kind of a review of PAFO, screwing around, but funny. Works on TMA. We talked about it often. You've I don't know if you listen to it, but you know people that do.
Oh yeah.
This guy Tony came up to me, introduced himself, loves all the shows, and then Sunday, so we spent some time together. He's a great guy, and on Sunday he texted me and he said, "Hey, if not too much trouble, I want to ask you, and if you could ask your friend Chaz. He wants to start a meditation group, and he is a practicing Buddhist."
Oh wow.
And I got by the text maybe newer to that spiritual faith.
Sure.
But I was like, man, here's this guy. It's just he obviously listens to you in this show, and I think that's really cool. Anytime somebody comes up and the way you talk meditation on it, and I think it sparked something. Now he wants to, and I was like, listen, you don't have to be like a Jesus. Even if we have this space at Underground on Wednesday nights, and you want to start a meditation group,
For sure.
we're open for it. Like that. So I thought that was really cool, and I wanted.
Yeah,
to
I love that. Thank you, and thank you, Tony. I would love to help with that any way I can. When I started the Buddhist meditation that I teach at POR, I met with my teacher, Justin Van Boydash. I sat down with him, and the Tibetan Buddhism has a lineage, right? Like I have not received the transmission to be a teacher, right? Like in the downline of things. So I'm gonna explain that.
Please do, because I always wonder if you're being self-deprecating or too hard on yourself, but I think you aren't on this.
No,
case.
because so a term that people are familiar with is Lama, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Lama is a teacher. Right?
Dalai Lama.
Yeah, so the Dalai Lama is a teacher. The Dalai part is the big dog. The Lama is a teacher, and so.
Okay.
My teacher, if you look him up, would be Lama Justin Van Boydash. You'd always see Lama in front of his name. So I'm not that.
Okay.
Right? Like I'm not a Lama. It doesn't mean
How do we get you there?
It doesn't mean that I couldn't be, right? It would just be a path of direct focus, right? It would have to be what I'm doing.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Sure.
I usually don't preface. I just ask it. This
must be a good one. Is
it just a different word than the animal, or does it have something to do with the
Llama? The animal's got two L's, like a yama.
We're not a completely different word. Got it.
Yeah.
Noted.
I can't imagine you're the only person thinking that.
That's why I asked it. That's why I asked. I think that's one thing I do well. I ask the dumb question.
If anything, I think it kind of makes the idea cute.
Sure.
Right. Like
Listen, I mean, there are. I mean, there are cows that are revered. There are different animals throughout all parables that are. I mean, the lamb and
a lot of oxen in
sure.
Taoism and Zen. So I went to Justin because I wanted to be respectful of I'm going to start teaching Buddhist concepts. I'd like to, and I don't want to disrespect the idea that I have a direct teacher. I work with him individually. And I just didn't want to step on any toes. I was not going to be calling myself a Lama or saying that I had received these teaching transmissions, but I just want to be mindful of it. And he was funny because he was like, yeah, I mean, that's part of being spiritual or religious. Is like when you feel interested in doing something, you probably ought to do it. Yeah. And he, one of the ways that he was nice and I would say humble,
love that.
Real humble about it was he told me, he said, I don't speak the language of your town. I mean, he's from the East Coast. I mean, he's an American guy, right? But he's like, he's like, if I came into your town right now and I sat down and started teaching meditation, he's like, I don't speak the language of your town. He's like, you're more qualified to speak the language of your town, your community, your people.
Gotcha.
And so that's what you should be doing. He's like, so that's the same thing I would and maybe will say to Tony is, there's a group of people out there that you speak the same language as. And if you feel interested in helping them be introduced to meditation, introduced to mindfulness practices, whether they be religious or secular,
Mm-hmm.
there's somebody out there that needs to hear that, right? There's somebody out there that if I go and teach them, it wouldn't resonate as well because I don't speak their language. I don't speak the same language. I even joke a lot that I am a through and through Midwestern Buddhist. There's a lot of, coastal influence culturally, right? Like most Buddhists are going to be in bigger towns, right?
Not a salt life.
Yeah,
Salt life Buddhist.
There's going to be a lot of New York. There's going to be a lot of California. There's beautiful West Coast, of course, is going to be where a lot of retreat centers are going to gravitate towards. And I have much more of a connection a lot of times to more pragmatic, kind of simple teachings. I don't feel myself particularly drawn to large, wide open, ecstatic experiences of religious, movements. I feel really, really drawn to a nuts and bolts kind of sitting practice of just trying to learn how to follow my breath and navigate my kind of inner life. And it was really nice the first time I talked to Justin, that's been a long time ago, about I'm kind of thinking about maybe teaching a little Buddhism at this coffee shop here in town.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's too late, man. You have to.
I relate to that because that's how I felt. And I think I was pushed by my Justin, if that's Miofsky, on starting Underground.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted it, but it's, go do it.
Yeah.
And I think it's been, so I relate to what you said there about,
I've been really lucky with a couple of conversations where, one of the things that we're really happy about at Light Source is we provide a lot of support to helping professionals, right? We have a program called Beyond Supervision where we provide kind of supportive supervision and consultation to helping professionals who either are already fully licensed therapists or they're a helping professional that doesn't need something like clinical supervision that therapists need, right? They're in a job and they're helping and they just need to talk shop. We provide that space for people to be able to kind of talk about what it's like to do their work. We've been able to do that in a few places. We've rolled it out really well in, like we mentioned, in North Carolina. But one of the things that was interesting about it is when I felt like I really wanted to do something like that, I really wanted to put a big focal point of my day-to-day on helping helpers. I consulted some people that I hold in really high regard. Like one person I'll name on here is a person named Mark Sanders. And Mark Sanders is a therapist up in Chicago. You want to talk about a guest.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. I mean, Mark Sanders is an unbelievable trainer and teacher. He's been all over the world. He wrote a book called Slipping Through the Cracks.
I just sit here and let you guys talk.
He's unbelievable. Mark was so generous. I had a mutual friend of Mark's, my friend Sarah, who's the CEO out at APNC in North Carolina.
Okay, yeah.
Sarah knows him. And I said, Mark, right? Like, could you... It was a heartbeat of her emailing him and him giving me a big chunk of his time to talk about some stuff that I want to do. And when him and I were talking about how I wanted to be really supportive of helpers, he was one of a couple of people who I really admired that was like, boy, this sure sounds like a good idea that you're just going to have to do, right. And I know, like, in my mind, I'm wanting a certain kind of collaboration, right? Like in my mind, I'm kind of desiring maybe, something we had talked about maybe a little bit of me that's a little codependent, right? Is like, I'm wanting someone else to want to do something with me,
sure,
right, in the moment, like, and instead I'm getting a lot of feedback that's like, you should do that, and Mark,
that sounds lonely a little bit.
I'm like, oh, I don't know, Mark, are you sure you don't want me to like give you money and you help me out with it, which of course he would never have asked for in a million years. But it was really like a cool process to just find some people that I admire and just ask some questions about stuff that was on my mind and have them be like, yeah, sounds great. Do that. Nobody had a like a spark of wisdom that they shared, right? Like the only thing they did was they spent a few seconds believing in me more than I believed in me, and it did the trick.
Go do it.
Yeah.
You almost want them to just keep kind of giving you this cliche wisdom, because that, okay, go do it is, oh shit, now we've done talking, I'm going to go do it. You mentioned codependency, and I know we can do probably a whole series on this.
Sure.
And we talked about either last week or this week and talking about codependency. Before I really knew what codependency was, and maybe I hit it, I used to say that, I don't know if it's tongue-in-cheek or not, but I think it's probably true. I'm codependent on two ghosts, and Tom Pondoff and Jesus. And
sure.
I think there's definitely, let's move Jesus off to the side, but
he's not going to receive your projection the way you
sure,
want him to.
Yeah, I'm pretty I think I'm pretty codependent on Tom still, even post-mortem.
Sure.
But I learned deeply by being the great listening husband that I am. Holly's rolling her eyes.
Ashley, not as hard as Ashley
right,
is.
Right. I was just going to say Ashley is too. And I always like to out her on her ailments, her colonoscopies or
sure.
anything personal she's going through that she likes to keep close to her vest. But she is a recovering codependent.
Oh, sure.
And she went through it. And I think she went through, what's it called? Is it, it was Celebrate Recovery, but what is it? Is there a 12-step meeting or what?
Sure. I mean, there's all,
codependent.
There's a codependent anonymous setup. Yeah.
Or maybe it's called CODA or something. I think I've heard, I don't know. I may be getting that wrong, but it was definitely similar.
Yeah. I have had a couple of really close friends who I will not out in this conversation.
Just air it out.
Who probably one of the first really moving things that I learned about them was how dedicated they were to a group to work on their codependent patterns, because they had been, raised by an alcoholic or married to somebody with addiction or even like when you say, to be real therapist-y about it, when you say that, you're codependent on Tom's ghost, there's basically you're codependent as a result of some things you would have learned from being raised by Tom. And now other people receive that codependency.
Interesting.
The pattern starts there. And again, it's kind of one of those things where none of it is really it's not condemnable, right? It's not you and I are never going to talk on here so forcefully one direction, right? It's never going to be like, Tom did these things and now you do these things and this is the damage caused by but in general, like, we're not going to talk like that on here. I think it's because I think when one of the things about introducing a conversation like codependency is right now, right, you would have people listening to this part of the conversation bracing, right? Like you would have people being like, I don't know if I want to hear this. I don't know if I need another feeling that I'm doing something wrong. I don't know that I need to hear another story about how maybe the things that I did have made other people codependent, right? Like right now, like this is an interesting topic to me because it has a very, very bad reputation, right? Like it gets critiqued in some very unique ways. And so it's almost like we want to have this PSA really quickly. It's like, under no circumstances are we going to talk about something in such a binary way that anybody listening should have to worry about feeling that there's kind of a judgmental angle here.
Yeah,
because that's what a lot of people are familiar with.
Sure.
That's
just not your style.
Yeah. Well, anything. And if you went, you could go to a therapist or you could go to a meeting or something like that and very quickly have somebody just be like, well, Tom behaved the following ways and now you try to regulate other people's emotions and you won't say no because of A, B, or C. And you're not going to you're not going to leave that conversation feeling any better.
Sure.
Right? Like, you're not going to be like, oh, great.
Thanks.
I've built a major part of my personality around something that people clock and then tell me I'm screwing up for doing it. But it is kind of how we talk to people about codependency pretty frequently. And I should say that the 3 not Ashley people that I am thinking about that went to anonymous meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She may have to.
Are, gosh, I mean, 3 people that I would have a hard time. I just thought of a 4th. 4 people that I would have a hard time thinking of more thoughtful, emotionally skilled humans than these 4. Off the top of my head, right? Like, people that would name their codependency, that would name that these patterns were there, that work on it really, really diligently, have spent big chunks of their life working on it. So that alone tells you that there's a certain amount of like emotional skill that goes into codependency. Now, to kind of give it a little bit of definition,
I was just going to ask you this.
There's a million different ways to define it.
Give me sorry to interrupt. Give me the definition to a person that doesn't know what it is, like literally. And here's the word, and thinks of it, doesn't even know what to think, because it's not. I didn't know what it was until I was sober and then met Ashley, and I think there's a lot of us out there that don't know what it is and hear it used flippantly. So give me a definition that is, maybe it's a little bit above simple stupid, but you get it.
I would go like really simple, and then I would go another direction. Like, really simple is there's an angle of it where it would just be is somebody that does not really have the ability to say no. Right? If we want to be really, really simple, because it is this idea of you're not going to draw a line in the sand if it's going to impact somebody else whose feelings you would like to be managed, not upset, not overwhelmed, right? So like in like the simplest of terms, right, it just becomes like no, I'm just a person that's not going to say no, right? Like a person who is going to consider the emotional state of somebody else every time. A little bit more meat on the bone would be because it could be like a person who's like always going to say whatever yes or whatever no is going to keep things from getting out of hand, right? There's other ways we could look at it, but the thing that people are more familiar with, especially maybe in the addiction world, which I'm going to be somewhat mindful of staying adjacent to some of this dialogue, because I'm not an expert in, well, I'm not an expert in anything, but definitely not in like codependency from a in the rooms kind of foundational AA addiction kind of process. But there's this pattern of a person who essentially gets a significant amount of their identity from the kind of comfort or well-being or just kind of like feeling okayness of someone else. And so where you hear kind of the things of legend, and this is where maybe I'm a little bit out of my scope of practice, but the thing of legend is kind of the idea that when you have a room full of these people starting out in the halls of AA, that they are also married, and they are, married to somebody who has had to absolutely take care of their every need, mistake, slip up, and mood for however long. And that partner in that example now is identifying with making sure that in these examples, alcoholic's life is exactly how they want it to be, right? How the alcoholic wants it to be. Even if they're suffering, whatever, but to keep the addiction going. So the thought would be a lot of times that when people would get sober, or when people would gain some emotional health and pursue some recovery, that you're leaving somebody who is codependent without an identity, and that they would maybe undermine some of the sobriety so that they could kind of return back to their baseline of taking care of this person in their addiction. That's how it got a bad reputation. Right. That's not to say that that's never happened.
I am here. Yes, I hear you. Right. So I can see that being, if that's the brush that's getting painted on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds, your knee-jerk reaction is, how could somebody do that? But I've seen it a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's not almost a malicious, it's a survival, because something and we talk about it, our director of family therapy, Kevin Button, talks about it a lot. You can't, it uses the Berlin Wall as a analogy, I guess, a lot on families of an addict. When the wall came down, problems didn't go. People didn't.
Right.
They almost wanted it back up.
Yeah.
Because they were codependent to it. So it hit some light bulbs, and I think, and to just piggyback on 12-step AA, why Al-Anon can be heavy on teaching what codependency is, and I mean that's maybe the baseline of their.
Yeah.
But I see that, and I can see why that is, because it can, on the surface it sounds malicious and betrayal, like you're this person supposed to support your recovery. No, it's deeper than that.
One of the ways it was taught to me, and this is not great, but I mean this is how it was taught to me, was the idea that, it turns out that these people were even sicker than the people in their addiction. And so it's like, so you're already butting up against, like, why would you want to go get help for that if what you're worried about is every little survival move that you have built your world around, that you also would have been building it around under the assumption that this is being caring and loving and trying to help
Right.
somebody. You're not only told that was wrong, which sometimes you definitely knew, right? One thing I can tell you, 20 years of being a therapist, I don't think I've ever told anybody something they didn't already know, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's
you've
why,
said that often.
like that's, we know where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like our intuition and our instincts are good. Like, humans are smart and deep and skillful.
We're also, and we're very good at those, we know it, but trying to not face it or dodge it or manipulate ourselves, but it's in there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And so it's like, at what point, I mean, like the long time ago, the book that everybody is like familiar with is Melody Beattie's Codependent No More. And Melody Beattie, Battie, Beattie, she's written a whole bunch of codependent stuff, right? Like, she's probably the biggest name in it. And it's good. I'm not knocking that at all. I mean, there's like companion readers and One Day at a Time for codependent, I mean, like, she's really, I mean, put a lot of work into it. And one of the things that I remember really standing out, that I think can be helpful for people, is that in pretty gentle terms, Melody Beattie will map out that a codependent person is maybe relatively dishonest. And the gentle version of that is just that a codependent person is not telling you what they really feel. Yeah, right.
Say, who are they dishonest to the most?
Yeah,
Themselves?
they're, it's this. Do you if a person wants to say no to something and they don't say no to something in terms of like a plan or something, I don't mean like abuse. Or anything like
I get
that.
yeah,
Nothing
right.
that heavy, but that is, there's a certain dishonesty there, right? Like, if somebody says, this is how we should do this, and I say, okay, sounds good, and in my bones I know it's not what I want to do, it's not what I like doing, it's not who I want to do this with, right? Like, I'm being dishonest, right? If I say, yeah, like, sounds good. And then, if over time I really start to expect that more and more people know that I don't want to do this thing, even though I've always gone along with it, right? Like, there is an aspect of that it's like, oh, so making sure that I'm not upsetting anybody, or making sure that the people who I want to be able to kind of feel a certain way, so that way things don't get out of control, that has taken over a lot of my behavior, rather than the honesty of, no, why would we do that? Well, and so I think, one of the things, the other author that I want to bring up before, so I don't forget, is Another guy who's in the West Coast is a guy named Robert Weiss, Weiss. Robert Weiss is an LCSW. He works a lot with sex addiction, porn addiction, that kind of stuff. But he writes a lot on codependency, and he was one of the first people I read that was talking about how to kind of soften the discussion of it. And even talking a little bit about,
because it's so rough.
Yeah, that like, you know, you're able to admit that a person might be behaving in a certain way because they are so worried about things going wrong. They are so worried about things falling apart. They are so concerned and in their mind deeply loving of this person that they are trying to kind of like improve the life of.
Yeah,
we really don't want to attack that,
it's
right?
Soft,
like,
so I'm thinking like, where's the soft landing?
Yeah,
here?
you know, and so Robert Weiss
entry.
and Weiss is hilarious. If anybody looks up Weiss, I mean, he's got talks everywhere. I mean, he's like really funny. Like he's a great presenter and teacher.
Listen.
Yeah, he's really good. And he talks a lot even about, and we can get into this in a little bit too, but he talks about like prodependency. Like what is like a healthy version of really wanting to consider somebody else's emotional experience?
You know, is all codependency like self-sab? I mean, I don't know if those are the right words, but there's got to be a good form of.
Well, the difficulty with codependency in most situations is going to be what is the control angle, right? Like how much is a person hoping to control the behavior of another person?
Like when Ashley has her bouts of depression, I really need her to be happy.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Ashley.
Yeah.
I feel like we're getting to a point where if Holly or anybody says something like, "Oh, Ashley, Chaz said something really nice about you on the podcast," that Ashley goes, "Did he?" And it's like, okay, so we've lost Ashley. No longer.
She still listens.
No longer tuning in. It's like, you know, when Holly's like, "Oh yeah, Chaz was talking about what kind of great presence you are," and she's like, "Oh really? Oh okay. When was that?" Must have been after episode 3.
Yeah,
So hopefully we can get her back.
We will. When she suffers, I suffer.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. So you would like for her to be more codependent.
I don't know. No, maybe.
If not everyone is going to watch this on YouTube, but if you could have seen the face there that said, "Is this a trick question?" Where's this going to go? No, I mean there is a piece of
Let's
it.
Go back to your anonymous 4.
Well, so a lot of it, right? Like the idea of discussing the ability to relinquish control. Right. So often the first thing that a family member, loved one, caregiver, anything like that is going to hear if they have in a discussion about addiction, even in a discussion about mental health, right? Any kind of difficulty or just like suffering that would make its way into help or treatment, they're going to get the kind of, hopefully not a lecture, but probably a bit of a lecture on, you know, you can't control what another human being does. And I don't know that I've ever had anyone be like, "I've never thought of it that way." But we got to say it, right? Like we got to say
there.
it.
It's like, but I get it, man.
And so there's this. I think some of it is like, you know, I use the language. I've said on here a lot, and when I teach meditation, talk about like the language of creating conditions, right? Like that if you want, there was. You know, the Buddha would say that enlightenment was an accident, so make yourself accident prone, right? And so the way you make yourself accident prone is this idea of you create conditions. The conditions for enlightenment is meditation, right? Like you have a practice, that would be the conditions. So when you talk about creating conditions, you talk about that a lot with mental health, with addiction is, well, what are the things you're doing that would create the conditions for you to maintain sobriety or remember medication or, you know, try to get outside or move or anything like that, right? What creates the conditions, right? Something that might be as simple or silly as like make sure you put your shoes by the door if you want to go for a walk, that kind of thing. Those things are creating conditions, and a simple idea, right? But what happens sometimes in let's say when any of us are struggling with codependency, and this would be my opportunity to note, we will all do this. Every human being will experience some kind of codependent behavior. So,
okay, I feel better you just saying that.
Yeah. So one of the things is when somebody who is maybe struggling with codependency, when they hear language like creating conditions, they are thinking of someone else, right? Like, oh, well, I have this loved one who I know really wants to do this, so I'm going to buy this book that I know she's been talking about, and I'm going to offer a ride to a meeting because I know she's been saying she wants to go to a meeting, and I'm going to see if she wants to go for walks every night, right? Everything I just said there is very loving.
Right.
Right? Like that is very, very kind. And if at any point anybody were to do that for any of us,
Sure.
right? If I pick up my phone after we're done here and there is a message that says, can we start going on walks in the mornings? That would be a loving thing, right? What's difficult about...
You like those walks, too.
I love a walk. Yeah, I love a walk. Walking and sitting.
Will you have one tonight?
Big. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, better.
Oh, that's why
beautiful weather tonight.
That's why she wants us not here till 10.
Yeah, beautiful weather tonight. But we made a big investment in the winter to make sure that no matter how cold it was, we could go for a walk. So we're trying to be codependent.
Well, there you go.
So
I like it.
But what happens is if you as an individual know that you just offered all of those loving things and that a primary push is you're low key kind of trying to control whether or not this person is going to get sober, stay sober, be less depressed, be happy because you don't like that they're sad, right? Like those are moments where clearly that has a tipping point, right? Like clearly that moves in the direction of being more worried about somebody else's experience than your own to maybe, if you're not careful, a constant level, right? So when I say everyone will experience codependency, and this is kind of I take this from the Jungian world, from the Carl Jung stuff, which I lean on a lot, I know.
I've heard his name a lot.
The thought is that there isn't any human behavior experience that isn't on a spectrum, that everybody falls on every spectrum. And so codependency would like that. Everybody is going to have times where they have signs of codependency, because of what I just said. Like there might be a moment where it's like, gosh, I'm really, really concerned about a friend of mine. And so I'm offering a lot, and I'm trying to offer a lot, and I'm trying to be present in their life. That clearly is not bad.
Okay, good. Dude.
Right? Like that clearly is not bad. As soon as it's kind of like maybe this part of me that starts to like, I really maybe even to some degree need them to feel better. It starts to become a really important part of who I am, that they start to feel better. That's tough, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be a really tough thing to navigate, right? Because again, the core thing being we don't control anybody.
Let me ask you this. When I hear you talk about codependency, or especially when it's getting to that level of codependency, if you will, are we talking about people just with a complete lack of boundaries? Are people that are struggling at that time with a complete lack of boundaries? I mean, it sounds pretty boundary-less.
Yeah.
Been there, get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's pretty close, because like the idea of just being able to say no is a boundary, right?
That's a tough word.
Yeah, in and of itself, that there is your classic idea of a boundary is just.
I've had people
no.
tell me no. I remember asking a buddy of mine if he could hold an envelope for me, and it was a lot. He didn't want to fuck with it.
Yeah. You got you a master class in how to not be codependent.
This guy ain't struggling with
no,
codependency.
He's not. Get him in here. What a guest. Yeah, I think that's there. That kind of just like lack of boundary is a big one, because what happens is we forget that like having boundaries, showing boundaries, expressing boundaries, maintaining boundaries is a loving act, right? It is not a cruel thing. But if we're struggling with any kind of codependent patterns, right? If we have kind of determined that somebody else being okay is how we're going to be okay, right? If we need someone to be regulated for us to be regulated, we're not really going to have a great sense of boundaries because we don't have a great sense of ourselves.
Charlie told me the other day I need to work on that, and what just literally that. I said, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, well, "You got that mean face right now, like you're getting all mad." And then he told Ashley that he said he wasn't super regulated this morning.
Yeah, great. I mean, the way that Charlie would phrase it, or the way that any kind of insightful kid would phrase it, is like, this is the point where you kind of tell somebody like, "Hey, you need to go get a life." Right? Like, and that is a mean way to just be like,
right.
Time to worry about how you're feeling.
Yeah, sure.
And not only worry about how everybody else is feeling.
Maybe I didn't get the call from the principal.
And so, Charlie's not always regulated,
Sure.
but he goes self-regulation first,
Sure.
and that doesn't always play out.
I admire that. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, the boundary stuff, there's also a really tough thing, too, where if you've ever seen someone who is a little bit like maybe even unnecessarily on call for someone, you got somebody who's having a hard time, and you notice that like, oh, this is the relative of somebody who is going to drop anything at all times for the slightest breadcrumb of maybe things are going to get a little better, or if I show up right on time and do this thing, everything's going to start to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the level of fear that you have to think that a situation is that fragile that frequently, right? But that is a lot of things like addiction, where you're thinking like, okay, if this person texts me and say they're having a hard day and I don't answer, this could be the day that I answer. They want to go to treatment, they want to get better, they want to get sober, they want to go to a meeting, and instead I was at lunch with my friend. How dare I be at lunch with a friend having a good time and a good day and a good life when my suffering relative said they were having a bad day and they needed something and I wasn't there. So like things that are overwhelming, fearful, and maybe even traumatic, what happens, we've said before, is things get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Our life gets more and more constricted, right? We kind of have like a proximal lifestyle, right? Like we're kind of tethered, right? So you don't want to be too far away.
Sure.
You don't want to be too unavailable. You don't want to be, maybe a living part of you that still has some codependency would be like,
talk to me.
If you are at the Megan Meyer trivia, and there are some people in your life who could call you and need something right now, and you're going to feel that anxiety of your unavailability. Even though
happened at a couple music bingos.
Even though it's not yours, right? Like it's not yours, right? Like somebody tells you that they are struggling or dysregulated, or even just need something, and giving them that would make them feel better.
You remember that music bingo?
I do. Yeah.
That's a rough one.
Yeah. Well, it's like at least it sounds like for the Megan Meyer thing, there was only 4 or 5 of you there. At the music bingo, there were 9, but 5 were dissociated.
Yeah, that's
so it's the numbers are still the same.
That's true.
And so you're at least giving elbow room to people now, so it's not a cramped table.
Yeah, there just was something in there that.
I'm sure it was allergies or something.
Sure. Let me ask you this, and you touched on this, and because I think. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think there are, you were saying earlier about, you weren't referencing just saying no as like an assault situation or abuse situation. But I feel like I've seen codependency get so out of whack, it can become dangerous and keep people in really toxic, abusive relationships. Oh, for sure. And that's where, when you talk about spectrum, I mean, now we're all the way, but it happens a lot. Like it's not a one-off. I mean, you hear, I hear it all the time. I hear it whether it's in the treatment setting or not, but where relationships do become, I mean, toxic on the best day, abusive as the baseline.
Yeah.
Whether it's verbal, physical, forbid sexual, whatever. But it's. I feel like, and if we're talking about those horrific situations, there's the party, and I'm dumb enough to say it, but typically the female, not always. I had a girl try to kill me once, but no, it's a different story. Not about me.
You were probably codependent on her though.
We'll unpack that next week, or next season. But that can be where codependency gets really dangerous and keeps someone in a very volatile, boiling water. And it's easy for, well, just leave them.
Yeah.
You hear how many times you hear that?
Well, there's I like that. I like that Bruce Springsteen. It isn't necessarily a relationship, but
President
tie it
doesn't like
together.
him very much.
Yeah, I like The Boss. And years ago, I went to. This is if anybody was doubting how obsessed I am with therapy, here will be evidence. Years ago, I went to a lecture at the St. Louis Psychoanalytic Institute on the storytelling stylings of Bruce Springsteen.
Jesus Christ.
Put on by a gentleman named Peter Ruderman.
The boss wasn't even there.
It was a Friday night.
Oh,
it was
beautiful.
it was awesome.
Did you go solo?
It was awesome. Yeah, it was just me.
What a rager.
It was great. It was great. I'll before I finish my story, I'll tell a funny story from that night because it really the Psychoanalytic Institute's out in Clayton, as
of course. I drive past. Yeah, been there a couple times.
So it was a relaxing evening, right? People brought like charcuterie and stuff like that in there, and so I felt a little out of place. It was a psychoanalytic Clayton crowd, right? Everybody's kind of well dressed and maybe having a little bit of wine, which I've never had. Maybe some Bartles and James when it was Blood of Christ when I was, that was about it maybe. But, so it's a very kind of like
didn't have anything at the Rum Jungle.
No,
contrary to Pioneer.
No, it was an interesting crowd for me, but I'm there for the boss. And there's one other person that was a little bit out of place, and he was a big guy. 6'3", 6'4", big old guy, and he's in overalls. And when we took a break, because this is like a 4-hour night, we're learning a lot. When we took a break,
get you some of that knowledge, baby.
He of course gravitates towards me, right? And he walks over to me.
Your safe presence.
He walks over to me, and without so much as a hi, he goes, "Can you hear this idiot back here coughing next to me all night?" And I couldn't. I didn't. I didn't hear anything of the sort. And it's clear that the other people can. He's a loud guy, right? He's a big boy, loud, big.
He didn't muffle it.
Other people can hear it, right? And again, like this is not a ruckus crowd,
sure,
right? So you can already hear a mouse fart in there. And so he comes over and he bellows this like, "Can you hear this idiot coughing by me all night?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, man. Is it? Yeah, I guess is it kind of interrupting your night?" And he's like, "I can't concentrate on a thing. Take a cough drop, clear your throat, get a drink of water. I don't know what his problem is." And right on cue, on the other side of the room, this guy coughs. And this big old boy points right at him and goes, "There he goes again." And now everybody knows. And he like storms off. He's so mad at this guy coughing. And now I am completely affiliated with this.
Yep, that's your buddy.
Yeah, so I'm already feeling a little bit misfit toy. And then this perfect delivery. "There he goes again." And it's just like a older guy with a really gentle like tickle in his throat, right? It's not the most human thing. Every single human being on the planet is going to have a little bit of a cough every now and then. I know this was pre-2020, so I mean, it was different. Coughs had a different meaning, but I mean, it was and I'm like, well, my night is over, but it wasn't, because we still had another couple hours with the boss. And
not Bruce.
No,
learning about.
No, some videos.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, he had some videos queued up. No, it was a true psychoanalytic case. Like, he was reading from his notes word for word.
What were they about?
So you're great lead in. So
thought I'd never ask.
Springsteen, I don't want to misquote too much of him, but Springsteen had a very difficult relationship with his father. His dad was a pretty mean guy. That's why I bring it up in you talking about, some of these, why people would stay or why people end up in a situation that's so clearly difficult. So Springsteen's dad was a pretty rough guy. I don't know exactly how much. He's written books about it, but I mean, like, I would say probably an abusive dad. And there's a video, an interview with Springsteen where he says that when he first bought his first big house in Jersey, when he really made it big, 10th Avenue Freeze Out kind of stuff. Darkness on the Edge of Town is the greatest album. My favorite full album of all time.
Wow.
Yeah, I love Darkness on the Edge of Town. As a full album. Not saying it's the best album of all time, but as a full beginning to end, it's my favorite. Racing in the Streets, I cry every time.
President don't like him.
Yeah, well.
He tweeted about him the other day.
Oh, good. Good. Well, I'm glad he's not busy. So Springsteen says that when he first got his house, he kept going back. He's like, I was driving to my hometown every night, in the middle of the night, through the night. He's like, I couldn't stop myself. It's like, I don't know why. He's like, so I decided I was going to go to a therapist.
Good.
He's like, I go to the therapist and I say, man, I'm driving to this damn town every night. I can't stop myself. I get in my car, I drive down to where I'm from, and I just drive around. He's like, I don't know what I'm looking for. And he said, the therapist said, my guess is that something really, really bad happened there. And you're going back there every night hoping you can change it.
Oh.
And he says, yeah, man, that must be it. So what do I do? And he just said, nothing, man. You can't change it. And it's a discussion on, as humans, right, we will do that, right? We will drive into the belly of the beast every single night thinking that we're going to see something different this time. Yeah. And all we're going to have to do is hit that switch and things will go back to the way we always pictured them. Springsteen also...
Boy, I think about my battle with alcoholism right there, too.
Mm-hmm. Just keep going back. One of these days, Tom will be there. Yeah. And I think of, Springsteen said that they were, this whole lecture was about his like storytelling styles. And there was another interview of him where he, somebody basically asks him what is kind of the inspiration for so many of your songs? You're blue collar this, you're this, that, like clearly he's always been like the Jersey guy that, songs like Factory and these, people punching the clock, that kind of stuff. And he said, all my songs are about my dad. And the interviewer was like, well, how come? Why would they all be about your dad? He's like, well, all of them but one. I wrote one song about my mom. He's like, well, your mom, Springsteen's mom was very loving, bought him a guitar as a kid, the whole nine. And he says, so why is that? And Springsteen says, well, the way that I make sense of the world is I write songs. I can't make sense of my dad. So I just had to keep trying to make sense of him. And every time I try to make sense of him, I write a song. He's like, I understand my mom. She just loved me. So I wrote a song for her one time. So I thought it would be nice. But I don't have to, he's like, I don't have to figure my mom out, so I don't have to write songs about her. You know, there's this kind of this process where, we start thinking about why would we just walk on coals every day? Well, something really amazing and unique about humans is like we have the emotional ability to think that they might be cold someday.
Yeah.
You know, that there's going to be something, rather than admit how painful it is that they're so hot. We start thinking, well, what if I step on it with my big toe first? What about my heel first? What about my little toe? What if I tiptoe? What if I heel toe? What if I, right? Like we start doing all of this thinking that at some point we might figure out exactly how to step on that coal and it not be hot.
Only gonna drink on weekends.
Yeah, and all of that is in some instances, for a lot of us, for I just think a lot of humans, in some instances, that ends up feeling so much more comforting than letting that coal be responsible for being so goddamn hot.
Yeah.
You know,
God.
and so of course, right? Like we're all capable of it. So even when you think about the worst situation you can think of somebody who seems to be the most wild, controlling, enabling, like giving somebody $40 to go buy their dope every day kind of a person, right? Like we never run out of options as humans, right? Like we're so damn adaptable and we're so resilient that what we do is we just think like, I mean, if I give somebody $40, but I say, I'm only going to give you 40 and why don't you stay home afterward? And, it's like life is this big chessboard, right? Like there's more options minute to minute than there are atoms in the universe, right? So we've never run out of ways this game can play out. And so we end up in a world where we need a lot of reminders, like Springsteen's therapist, like you can't, like, I know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that one of those times you're going to be driving through there and you're going to see that there's a switch over on the wall in City Hall that says, make it all right. And you're just going to be able to go hit that switch. And you've just driven by it a lot of times and it's always been there. And you can't, but I just think like this process of feeling like there is a way where maybe we can create conditions for somebody else or from some other situation and everything is going to kind of go back to a nice kind of bright space. When we say you can't, right, it's not to introduce this thought of hopelessness. It's to kind of remind us that there might be a world where just recognizing every time that coal is hot.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, is a life's work, right? It's like, oh, wait, no. I remember I used to step on that one all the time.
Sure.
It's still hot.
And
I haven't needed to step on it to learn that.
It's the bring up Kevin again who said, the farmer and the snake, found the frozen snake, went home and defrosted him, got him warm, and the snake started feeling better. As soon as the snake got defrosted, he bit the farmer.
Yeah.
Why'd you bite me? Well, I'm a snake.
Yeah, there's a great version of that in a parable that I've heard that is a scorpion with a frog. And the scorpion's like, you got to help me get across the water, man. And he's like, no, you're going to sting me. And he's like, no, not if you help me across the water, And then he helps him across the water and he stings him. He's like, what's that all about? And he's like, I'm a scorpion, man. Like,
man. I think a couple things you said tonight about we're all a little codependent.
Yeah, we're all capable for sure.
Yeah, and that spectrum, it can get real unhealthy and dangerous. And I think that, like anything, knowledge is power, and working on it can liberate and be beneficial. Boundaries are actually a form of loving.
Yeah.
When we've been wired that the lack of boundaries is the ultimate love. I mean, I hear parents say that all the time, moms especially, to addicted kids. But how important that is, and it's, I mean, it can be life-saving for both ends. But
well, if you think of a world where you can take somebody that you love and you can give them everything that they're ever going to need every minute of every day from the time that they're born until the time that they're not here anymore. When I bring up that option, it's like, wouldn't that be great? We also, to go with the idea that you never said anything to somebody that they didn't already know, we also hear that and go, oh, well, you wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
You wouldn't want to give somebody everything they've ever wanted every minute of every day. Like, you know, like we know that.
Well, you would for Holly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a piece of it where, and you would love for Ashley to do that for you.
1 minute. Yes.
So, but I think, like, you know,
start with the dishwasher.
If anything, it's the idea of this kind of saying no, where if thoughts of boundaries, if thoughts of allowing somebody to be responsible for their own feelings, their own behaviors, if that kind of accountability initiates a feeling of fear in you, initiates a feeling of overwhelm, if you think it's like, gosh, if I were to just let this person be responsible and accountable for their own stuff, right, it would go bad, or maybe they wouldn't need me, or maybe they wouldn't talk to me anymore. If what we're talking about creates a lot of fear, it's not a conversation about it's not a conversation of like, well, face that fear and build these boundaries. It's a conversation of like, well, start thinking about what could help you make that fear a little more real, right? Like, to be able to speak it real. Like, we always say verbalize to normalize, right? Like, where can you? This is where groups come in.
Name it to tame it.
Yeah, like, this is where
shut out waves.
Where these conversations come in of like, if you are thinking about how you need to have stronger boundaries, or you need to have a little bit stronger of a no, or you need to allow somebody to kind of live their life or take some accountability or responsibility in their life, and you're not going to try to, like, you know, control their emotional experience. Now, if all of those things awaken like a real sense of fear and overwhelm, I would never be somebody that says, well, you just have to face that fear and let them face the consequence. Like, because that's like, there might be truth to that in some instances, but it's not going to be necessarily like that helpful as guidance. I would more say, like, make sure you have people in your life that can say, damn, I know that's really, really scary for you. If you do say no, or if you do set that boundary, make sure you call me. Let's make sure we're going to hang out. Make sure you let me know. Like, you get as many people in your corner as you can who are going to validate, like, oh yeah, that's really, really scary. Oh yeah, I have had to tell somebody something that I wasn't going to do something, and I was really scared they were going to get upset with me. I know where you've been. Talk to me about it. Because, like, a lot of times where codependency got a particularly bad rap was the proverbial, like, well, just like, stop it. This is clearly bad behavior. You know better. You're doing a thing, and this person is still doing the thing that you don't want them to do, so you're not helping. But we got, like, very, very heavy-handed with it, right? And we threw the book at people like that, when really we need to speak sometimes to that fear of, like, you're going to say no, you're going to set a boundary, you're going to be more honest with what you're feeling. There will be backlash for being more honest with what you're feeling. There might be a real difficulty with that. And so acknowledging that fear with this kind of tenderness of, yeah, like, talk to somebody, talk to supports, go to a group, talk to a therapist.
The board of directors.
Yeah, like, you know, bring that in to just, like, find people who are going to humanize that this is a really, really scary thing to start.
Yeah.
Rather than people that are just going to tell you to stop it. Because, like, if you can't, like, humanize the behavior, you're not even going to really know what you want or what your no is, right? Like, and so it's kind of what we talked about last week. So I just think, like, you know, the more and more that we can make that human and have these conversations as humans, the better off we're going to be. And hopefully that's, you know, somebody need to hear that.
Amen, brother.